Today, a massive mood change. Not that kind of mood. We're talking today about the mood of the verb, okay? We've been in the indicative mood for the entire time so far. Today we move to the subjunctive mood. And then in the next lesson, we'll look at the imperative mood. If no one is listening, I'm sure wasting my time out here. I'm doing all of this in order that people might learn, but maybe I'm just a crazy man out talking to himself in his garage. We human beings hate uncertainty. We like to know, which is why when we go to the doctor, we want a diagnosis. And maybe they tell us, you have blah, blah, blah disease and you have 14 days to live. And we say, thank you very much for taking the uncertainty away, because we like to know. Or if we're in love, we pick up a flower and we say, she loves me. She loves me not. Oh, the tension is killing me. She loves me. She loves me not. Oh, does she love me or does she not? We want to know. She loves you. Yeah, right? I mean, we like to know things. Well, today we face our darkest fear, our deepest uncertainty, the subjunctive mood. Now we've seen that in the indicative mood, the speaker is portraying the world as he or she sees it. It's the mood of reality. This is what is, okay? That's the indicative. But with the subjunctive, we move into the realm of possibility or probability or what might be or what should be or what ought to be or what we wish would be. So we're speaking about things that are uncertain. That's the subjunctive mood. And it's very common in the New Testament. As we'll see, it's second only to the indicative mood. It actually is Halloween night here, and so maybe I'm in that sort of a mood, but here we are portraying the subjunctive mood as some sort of creepy, freakish thing. It's actually not. As a matter of fact, the subjunctive mood is a snap. We'll see that there are 3 crazy cool features that make the subjunctive mood very easy to grasp. If you take a look on your master chart and look at the box that says subjunctive mood, you can see the summary here. Now we'll go in and look more closely here in just a second, but let me just show you. One of the cool things, crazy cool features about the subjunctive is that it's only used in the present and aorist tenses. The second thing is that there will always be a nice simple ending, and the ending is easily marked by these long connecting vowels. You can see an omega or an eta in every case. And one thing that's really great once you get out of the indicative mood is that the endings don't morph all around on you. These are the subjunctive endings, period. There are no others, okay? And then the third thing that we'll look at is that on the subjunctive, you have great clues that tell you, hey, watch out, subjunctive ahead. And they are these words like hina, or hatan, or hasan, and you can see that they are words that introduce uncertainty in order that something might happen, whenever this happens, whoever, whenever, until, so, if. These are words that introduce uncertainty, so when you see one of these words, you know a subjunctive is about to show up, and sure enough, in the next few words, you will see a verb with a long connecting vowel, and anyway, subjunctives are very, very easy to spot. Subjunctives only use 2 tenses. We'll see that they use the present and the aorist, and that's it. Now, why would that be? Well, remember that Greek tense has to do with aspect plus time. But here's the thing. Outside of the indicative mood, time is not a factor. Here's a way to see that. Okay, so in the indicative mood, the tense describes the aspect plus the time. And it's, okay, time is a factor in the indicative mood. But outside of the indicative mood, that means in the subjunctive mood, in the imperative mood, and we'll see with infinitives and participles, which technically are not moods, but parts of speech, okay? But in any case, in all of these manifestations of the Greek motion words, there's no indication of time in the tense. The only thing that the tense describes is aspect. In other words, the kind of action. It doesn't say anything about when. It just says about what kind of action is involved. What are the three aspects that are captured by the Greek verb? Well, the first one, the most common, we would say is undefined. Undefined aspect. It's the aspect that just says something happened. Doesn't make any comment about the kind of action, the kind of motion at all. And we capture that idea just with a dot. And what is the tense that best captures the undefined aspect? Aorist, by far. The one that just reports, the one that just says something happened. Now we also know that the future captures undefined aspect, and the present can capture undefined aspect. Sometimes the present can also capture continuous aspect. But okay, so we have the undefined, and the primary carrier of undefined aspect is the aorist tense. Okay, what's the second aspect? Well, I've already said it, right? Continuous. It's the ongoing aspect. Okay, so we capture that idea with like a line that describes an ongoing state of affairs. What tenses capture continuous aspect? The present and the imperfect. So the present and the imperfect capture continuous aspect. Now, as we will see, outside of the indicative, the present is used to capture the continuous aspect. And then the third aspect, of course, that is captured by Greek is the perfected aspect. And we could represent that with like a dot and a line that describes something happened with effects that are ongoing. And of course, the tense used to capture perfected aspect is, big surprise here, the perfect tense. Now, the subjunctive doesn't use the perfect tense because the perfect still has some sense of time sort of wrapped up in it. It's hard to get away from that. But in any case, all we need for the subjunctive, since it has nothing to do with time, for example, we need no way to, I mean, if we have communicated that it's ongoing aspect by using the present tense, we don't need the imperfect too, do you see? Because they both communicate continuous aspect. And if we just need to communicate undefined aspect, well, we don't need the aorist and the future and the odd use of the present. We just use the aorist. So, in the subjunctive mood, there are only two tenses needed because there are only two aspects captured by the subjunctive mood: undefined, using the aorist, and continuous, using the present. The endings of the subjunctive are marvelously simple because they're always the same. There aren't hundreds of them or anything like that. They're always a fat connecting vowel with these exact personal endings tacked on. So they're really easy to see. And if you look down, you'll notice I've put in red the connecting vowels, and they are always either a what or a what? Omega or eta, right? So it's easy to see those when especially when you're looking for a subjunctive, you'll see that omega or eta. Now we've seen with the contract verbs, sometimes we have contracts and things happen. So these may not look exactly like this in a contract verb or something like that, but we'll be looking for this big, fat connecting vowel, okay? And with these personal endings that we're getting quite familiar with. Now, you might notice, okay, in the present, then it's o, ace, a, omen, eta, osi. Easy to see there. Let's look at the aorist because that may throw you for a bit of a surprise here. We're used to the clue for the aorist being the sigma alpha, right? Well, we don't get a sigma alpha. Or a theta eta, right? Well, we only rarely get the theta eta here. So what's going on with that? Well, obviously, these big fat vowels are swallowing up those connecting vowels. So instead of sigma alpha, we have the alpha goes away, we have the omega. So instead of looking for sigma alpha in the subjunctive, we'll just look for the sigma. Oh, I see I left one uncolored here. Look at him sticking out there. Okay. And then instead of looking always anyway for the theta eta, just the theta is what we'll see. You'll notice that we have the theta eta in 3 out of 6 instances here anyway. But there's one other thing that you might be noticing that's missing here in the aorist that we're very much used to. Where is the augment, right? What happened to the augment? It's an aorist. You promised me an augment. Come on. Well, what's wrong is that we're not talking about time. Remember this, that in the outside of the indicative mood, the tenses have nothing to do with time. And what does the augment tell you? It tells you you're going into the past, doesn't it? Well, we're not going into the past because in the subjunctive mood, the aorist only has to do with aspect. So these are de-augmented aorist tense stems. In other words, there won't be an augment in the subjunctive, but you will have your sigma and the big fat connecting vowel. So those are the endings. Now, I might mention that the second aorist is just what you would expect. You would have the change in the stem, right? So lambano would become lob, for example. So you would have a change in the stem, and then you would see these endings, o, ace, a, omen, a to osi. So rather than the sigma, we know this, right? Rather than sigma alpha, the second aorist uses a stem change. So that will still be the case with subjunctives. One last crazy cool feature of the Greek subjunctive is that it will almost always tip you off that it's coming. Just like in English, when we introduce uncertainty into the sentence, we expect a subjunctive, same in Greek. And these words right here are great clues, and they're really easy to spot. One of the most common is hina, in order that. In order that I might, in order that they might, it introduces uncertainty. Or on, if, hatan, whenever, has on, whoever, hapu on, wherever, heos or heos on. Now, are you seeing a pattern in all of these words? On, right? On, do you remember when we learned this little fragment and we called it an untranslatable Greek particle here used to introduce contingency? Well, contingency is just uncertainty, and as soon as you have uncertainty involved, you're looking for a subjunctive. So bottom line, if you look at hina and you look for these various forms of on, these will tip you off. You'll see those, and then you'll look ahead for a subjunctive verb, and sure enough, there it will be, this nice verb with a fat connecting vowel, and all you have to figure out is this a present subjunctive or an aorist subjunctive? So they're really pretty easy to decipher. Just a couple of more odds and ends about subjunctives before we look at a few in the wild and call it quits here, but it's worth pointing out that you might have noticed there are two ways to negate things in Greek, ou and me. They both negate whatever is being said, okay? Well, ou is used with the indicative, and me is used with everything else. So if you see a negation with a may, you know it's not going to be an indicative. It will be, well, subjunctive, imperative. It could be a participle or an infinitive, but it's not indicative. So ou for the indicative, just remember that. May for everything else. The most emphatic way to negate something in Greek is to use ou and me together with the aorist subjunctive. So here we have that phrase right here. Ou me apollontai. I'm giving them eternal life, and they will never. And literally there, you're negating the possibility of the possibility. I mean, it's a very strong way to say this will not happen. And just to be annoying here, there are a couple of uses of the subjunctive that are different from English. There's something called the hortatory subjunctive. Isn't that obnoxious? But that's what it's called. But it's a subjunctive used to make an appeal. So let us make, here we have from Genesis, epen ha theos poiesomen anthropon. Let us make man. Poiesomen this is a subjunctive here, and it's actually being used to let us do this kind of thing. That's the hortatory subjunctive. Or here we have anabomen, ace bethel, let us go up. So just be aware that sometimes the subjunctive is used to call people to action. Let us fill in the blank. And finally, the subjunctive can be used in Greek when questions are being asked. If if it's uncertain, what is the answer to this? For example, te phagomen, what shall we eat? Or te peomen, what shall we drink? So notice the subjunctive is being used. We see those nice fat connecting vowels, and it's being used to ask a question. This is called a deliberative subjunctive, but just be aware that sometimes the subjunctive is used in questions. To the wild, to the wild. Let's look at some subjunctives here. Let me show you how easy this is. In John 1, for example, as we scroll through, and I've highlighted these, but notice the word hina here. He came to bear witness to the light. Oops, I missed one right here. In order that he might bear witness. Look at this one. We'll just go ahead and highlight that right now. Hina, followed by, well, there's our fat ending right there, and a sigma, so we know that this is an aorist subjunctive. So he came that he might bear witness concerning the light, in order that everyone pistiusosin is, okay, hina, we expect a subjunctive. There we see the fat connecting vowel. Would this be an aorist or a present? Well, there's no augment, so it has to be a present, right? Wrong, right? Wrong. Because remember, with the subjunctive, we don't have an augment. There's only one clue that tells us, and that will be the sigma before the personal ending, or we may have a stem change to tell us it's aorist.
Wow.
Here we go again. Another hina. He was not the light, but he came hina martyrese, that he might bear witness. Again, subjunctive. How do we aorist or present here? Aorist, right? There's the sigma. All right, so are you getting the idea? We're scrolling through, we're looking for hinas or ons, these things that tell us that expect a subjunctive. Here's another one in verse 19. The priests and Levites came hina erotesosin, fat connecting vowel, hina, all the clues here, and sigma, so we know it's aorist again. Here's another one. They ask him, who are you? Hina apocrisine, answer, dolmen, we may give. Okay, in order that we might give an answer. Well, now is this one an aorist or a present? There's no sigma, right? So it must be a present, right? Wrong. Dolmen is from didomi. So if this were a present subjunctive, we would see that present stem still there, dido. But we don't have ditto, we just have do. This is the aorist tense stem. So this is, it's a me verb, and it has like a second aorist look here at us. It's the way we know this is an aorist is not by the sigma, but by the fact that the stem changed. But it's another aorist. And you know what? Whether you called that an aorist or a present, in order that we might give an answer, it's just an issue of aspect, right? We might keep on giving an answer, or we might just give it. Obviously, the aorist is called for here just by the context. Scrolling on down, here we go again. You're getting used to these hinas. Like I said, that's the most common clue that a subjunctive is coming up. I'm not worthy, hina luso, that I might loose his sandals, the strap of his sandals, okay? In order that I might loose. Present or aorist? Aorist. Nice sigmas, right? How about this one? I didn't know him, but in order that he may be revealed. Hina phanerothe. So what kind of, here we have our hina, here we have our subjunctive. Here's the fat connecting vowel. We have a circumflex, we have an iota subscript. There's been all kinds of issues with this verb here. Is this aorist or present? Aorist passive, right? He might be revealed. It's not he might reveal, but be revealed. It's aorist passive. Okay, scrolling on down. Finally, we come to a han on, and I told you the on will stick out at you. Whomever, so where's our subjunctive? You might see. Now, ides is actually from oida, so we're looking at a second aorist here again. So you see why those second aorists are important to recognize? There's no sigma here to give us a clue. It's this change in the stem from oida becomes ed. So that's how we know this is an aorist. I've been scrolling around trying to find present subjunctives, and I've discovered that the aorist subjunctive is much more common. So there's a little tip for you. If you're confused and you're not sure when you see a subjunctive, should I guess aorist or present? Guess aorist, you'll probably be right. But here's an example of a present subjunctive where here we have in Matthew 20, where Jesus is telling the disciples, it shall not be so among you, but hos on thele, whoever wishes among you great to be. Now, thele comes from thelo, remember, I wish. So, whoever wishes. Okay, here we have our on, which is our big clue, right? Subjunctive ahead. Here's our verb with the big fat connecting vowel, the eta there with the iota subscript. Now, is thelo present or aorist? Already sort of given this away, right? But that's present. No sigma involved there. And so whoever is wishing, it's not just whoever wishes, but whoever keeps on wishing among you great to be, he shall be your servant. And here we go again, hos on thele, exactly the same construction there. Hos on, and whoever is wishing among you to be first, in humin enai protas, whoever wishes among you to be first. So just here's an a present subjunctive, and Jesus is pointing out here that this is, you're sitting there wishing to be first. You're wishing to be great. And not just that it happened, but he's pointing to the continuous, ongoing state of wanting to be first, of wanting to be great. Which, frankly, that's most of us, right? If I had no torso, I would need a stand to rest my head on. If I wanted to go somewhere, they would have to put me in a box and haul me around. If only I could levitate and fly around. Ooh! Crazy cool. Well, okay, I'm getting crazy. Maybe a little crazy here with the subjunctive and a little crazy with my green screen, but I want you to remember the subjunctive is the mood of possibility, probability, not the mood of reality. And that it has three crazy cool features. That it has only two tenses, present and aorist, so that makes it simple to decide. That it has very simple endings, and that it has clues that will tell you when it's about to appear. So let us not be terrified of the subjunctive.